Welcome to another week of Around the Grounds with Chocco. And this week, wow, talk about entertainment. This bloke has been involved in it all. And he's a local lad who's much loved in the community when he gets home. And I speak of Tommy Dullard, who works for Fox Sports. Tommy, welcome to Around the Grounds.
Thanks for having me, Chocco.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure, mate. And as I said in the intro, mate, you're a local larrikin who's been involved. Your family's involved in the community, mate. Tell us what it was like. A country boy, born and bred in Swan Hill, mate, and now working for a huge sporting production company.
Well, it all happened pretty quickly once I finished uni, Chocco. Like I was obviously, grew up in Swan Hill, grew up around the Swan Hill Football Netball Club in the winter months, and then basketball sort of outside of that. Come from a big family, so sort of we were always nice and active in and around the community, going here, there, or everywhere. And then down to Melbourne, and it was a pretty big shock coming down to university after graduating year 12 at MacKillop College. So then down to the big smoke, and then got busy with my study and tried a few things out when I was studying, and lucky to meet a few people along the way, and just put my hand up for different things, and was lucky enough to land at Fox Footy as my main gig out of uni.
Now let's talk a bit about uni. What did you do at uni, mate? What was it? Was it something that you aspired to be what you are today as a student, or did it just, as I said, things just progressed from the time you moved down to Melbourne and opportunities arose from there?
No, it probably the fire in my belly for like journalism and sport. Well, I was never the best footballer of the family. So Leighton, my older brother, he was always the footballer. Even my twin sister, she probably got all of the sporting ability out of us two being the youngest. So I was growing up in year 10, maybe even year 9, 10, 11, writing footy reports for The Guardian. My friends would sit in the car with me, and I'd be writing notes about the senior game, and then I'd go home and write up match reports and send it through to, it was Justine McCullough-Beasy at the time. She was the sports editor of the Guardian, gave me a good crack with some guidance from Jeff Hickmont from MacKillop. And I just went for it that way and started to really enjoy that side of things. And then, I always enjoyed school and was lucky to be well supported by sort of my teachers and had a fair crack at it. My friends would probably say that I didn't go out enough during year 12, but I argue that I had a nice balance between the two. And then, I probably went a bit better than what I thought at year 12. And then an opportunity popped up to study journalism at RMIT in the city, which was quite a good course to get into back then. And then I was probably out of my depth a little bit, seriously, once I got down to Melbourne. But I just had to, again, just sort of put my hand up for different things, and sort of went after different opportunities, and it sort of worked out okay. And I went down the footy road and met some people, and it's very lucky to sort of use that sort of journalism bachelor degree as a bit of a sort of launching pad.
Let's talk about Fox Footy. And most of the listeners and viewers would know it's obviously a huge part of AFL production, and not only on field but off field, and all the shows that's done. What's actually your role? What's involved in your role, and what's it like to work for such a great company like Fox Footy?
So I will say, I won't sugarcoat it. It is highly pressurised and very stressful and challenging, dealing with different egos along the way. But it is also rewarding to be able to work in footy and then cricket in the summer months. But so I'm a TV producer. I produce at the moment. I produce AFL 360. So my role there has progressed since I arrived, sort of about 9 years ago. I started as an assistant, and this year I was sort of in the ear of Jared and Robbo for the small portion of the year that he was there before he got sick this year. But in the ear of them as their sort of going through the show, and I put together a rundown with the help of an executive producer and an assistant with us. We work with Jared. We work out what news topics we're going to talk about. We sort of discuss different elements that need to be put into the show. I work with the Coaches Association to book in the coaches, work with the sort of Jack Rewalt, Christian Petrarca, Adam Treloar and Eddie Betts and their managers to book them in to make sure they're good to go, send them the rundowns. So this is progressing throughout the week. Then on a Wednesday, it's similar again. I work with Kingy about different things he wants to analyse, and then we sort of split up roles on a Wednesday. The assistant sort of Anthony, he's a gun producer who sort of then takes the different things to analyse with Kingy and Joey, and I make sure sort of that's fitting the week as we sort of want it. So, I sort of work with an executive above me who sort of guides all the news and helps me with a lot of the big decisions, work with Jared and Robbo, the hosts, and then, put together different packages and work with the editors. I don't know. It's such an all-encompassing job. Since I arrived at Fox Footy, I've never been able to look at a bloody TV show the same ever again because of the way sort of there's so much going on behind the scenes. But then come 7:30, I've got the rundown. I hand it around to everyone and make sure we're following exactly sort of how we're planned, or make sort of split decisions on the go. And that's sort of in a nutshell what I've been doing this year. Previous to that, I was sort of traveling around and producing games on weekends. So that's when you work with commentators and the different clubs to make sure you got the right storylines and putting the right sort of packages and pump up packages together so the supporters at home sit there with goosebumps and enjoy the production, I guess. So and then prior to that, I worked with Mike Sheehan to put together open mic as well. So there's been a range. I've been very lucky to have a crack at a lot of different things.
Do you often pinch yourself times, Tommy, walking down the corridors and rubbing shoulders with some of these they're high-profile sportsmen. They not only were good footballers and people, but they're highly credentialed in the positions they are. And obviously you speak of Jared Waitley and Mike Sheehan. But do you often pinch yourself, mate? Do you see them in a different way?
Yeah, I have. I definitely don't take it for granted to be able to sort of, have a conversation with Nick Rewald as he walks in the door, like he's you walking down the street, down Campbell Street, Swan Hill sort of thing. So I definitely don't take that for granted. The ones that I probably did sort of pinch myself with in the beginning, I used to fight over the Herald Sun to be reading Mike Sheehan's articles in the back page with Dad over toast before going to school, sort of thing. So that was sort of a pinch myself moment in the beginning, but then you sort of become a little bit acclimatized to it all. But definitely working on the Saturday afternoon, Saturday night production when Eddie Maguire would sort of come in with all his sort of book work and stuff like that. That's probably that's the big pinch yourself moment, and probably still to this day that Big Eddie, the Eddie Everywhere's sort of right there, and have to sort of help guide different productions with him on it. Is definitely pinch yourself sort of stuff.
And do you find that is there parts of the business you enjoy more than others? Like you've obviously had a taste of doing, obviously the shows, but also working part of the commentary team. What part of the roles have you probably enjoyed more over your time so far?
It is a tough one. The thrill and the adrenaline out of like live match production is sort of something that you just can't replicate. But then to be able to see out a whole week of 360 and follow the different news stories through, I've really been enjoying that lately as well.
Yeah, and you spoke about footy and your journalism side of it. Do you at times you just obviously just have to say it the way it is, whether it's controversial or not? Is it hard to make sure you got your facts right and everything like that, particularly when you're, I guess, delivering a pretty high story? And obviously, as you know, AFL, there's so many stories throughout the year, but what's it like being on the run and trying to pass that information on to the likes of Jared and Robbo.
Yeah, it's crazy. I guess for the most part, I am lucky that those two in particular, they're two of the most credentialed AFL journalists in the game and probably of the last 10 years sort of thing. So I'm lucky to be able to be guided by them. And as a 30-year-old, like, you know, they don't mind that I sort of tap into their knowledge. But like following the bouncing ball of COVID a couple of times this year was like to the next level, where a storyline, it was the South Australian teams. They were, so we got information in that they had to fly to Melbourne and get out of South Australia before borders sort of locked down and stuff. So right, we start preparing one rundown and we're ready to go. We're sort of lucky that we don't have to publish our actual information until 7:30 that night. So for the most part, we sort of know exactly the correct information, unless Jared has sort of a breaking story that we sort of keep in-house until the moment. But a couple of times with COVID this year, to be following that bouncing ball it's stressful as all hell, yeah.
Now, you spoke about cricket, mate, and you've been involved in cricket. You were a part of, and I know you're involved in the Big Bash, and you've spent some time with the Melbourne Stars as part of, I think you had a team manager type role there. What was it like being involved and working for such a high renowned cricket program like the Melbourne Stars?
Yeah, the clubland, I was very lucky to get a chance with the Stars as an intern, and then followed it through as like a media and communications coordinator, and then I was a travelling media manager in my last year there, sort of in between seasons, between footy seasons. So to be in that sort of inner sanctum of a club it's sort of on the other side of the fences to that sort of journalism and production side of things. But that in-house camaraderie, it's like being at the Swan Hill Footy Club, where, you know, you're all working towards one goal. And like, I really appreciated that sort of team aspect, and there's banter and there's fun, sort of in-house fun. So really, really, really enjoyed that. There were some big egos there too that sort of made it challenging, but it was really enjoyable. And I remember back, like, I was so young, sort of traveling around with them and trying to work out what the hell was going on. And then when we were trying to communicate to our members to give them, and then I'm working with the broadcasters to make sure they're happy. It was a pretty wild time, actually. It was really enjoyable, though. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Now, let's talk a bit about cricket, because you've been involved with the Fox cricket side of it as well. I know I've caught up with you a few times, particularly up in Sydney for a one-dayer. But, mate, and we talk some of the, the Brett Lees, the Shane Warnes, the Adam Gilchrist. Mate, some of the best. Do you find a real difference between the two sports?
Well, I don't know. The cricketers they're like mega world stars. Like, they go to India and they're flocked by hundreds of thousands of Indians, and having that Australian national representation behind them. I think that there's something to say about that. And I sort of have thought about this, and so fortunate to travel around with the cricket as well and do a bit of cricket 360. Around all the major test matches across a couple of summers. But the cricketers they're next level, but they're just so nice. So all these football, even though they are, they're big names and stuff, they're just nice guys. Like, they're nice people, and they're great at for the most part, the ones who have been great at their sport are great at what they do because of their attention to detail and their drive, and they want to be the best. So they just take that into their commentary, and that sort of goes, just, they also take that into sort of how they act around people as well. Like, they're just nice blokes.
Now, are you involved?
There's a couple of really nice women in there as well, actually, like Isha Gur and the like, who have travelled the world. So I won't forget the females. They're like, yeah, it's just a great team atmosphere, especially across a summer of cricket.
And will you be involved as part of the upcoming Ashes series? Will you have some role in producing that?
Well, Chocco, I'm lucky enough to. I won't be in the Ashes production. I'm going to do some Big Bash early on in December, and then have a couple of weeks, hopefully playing a bit of golf at Murray Downs, actually. So I can't wait to get home after a pretty turbulent year this year. So I'm really looking forward to get home and sort of, spend a bit of time back in Swan Hill. So which takes me out of the Ashes mix for the middle chunk. But I'll be watching, hopefully with a couple of beers as well.
And as most of us will be, hoping Australia can get the job done, mate. Let's, what advice or anything you would give? Like you spoke about, you started, you were at McKillop College, you did some work for the local Guardian, mate. What advice would you be giving any young boy or girl out there who's contemplating a career in journalism, possibly sport? What advice would you give them to be able to achieve, and anything's achievable, but yeah, to be able to achieve the goals that they wish to set out to achieve?
It might not even just be from a journalism or sports or media side of things. One thing that held me in really good stead was I just sort of threw my hat in the ring for a few different experiences that they treated me really well. I learnt different things in different environments, and sort of just had I tried a lot of different work experiences and stuff, and just tried to follow people around and be able to sort of take notice of what they do and how they do it. So I was sort of very interested in my industry of media and journalism, and I had a go at a lot of different things, and that held me in really good stead. So I'd sort of definitely recommend that, and probably doesn't even have to be media or sport. It's, get in there and have a go. And that sounds very basic, but that sort of was the mantra that I took into it from uni onwards. I just had a crack, and I went and sourced a couple of different opportunities and clung on here or there, and then it come off quite well for me. But the other thing, I was thinking about this the other day, like I'm like, I use it as a badge of honour that I'm from Swan Hill, even around the Fox Footy offices, or if I'm on the road with different Sydney production teams and stuff. It's like I'd proudly say, where are you from? I'm from Swan Hill and on the Murray River, Northern Victoria, and it's the best thing that I just love telling people it, and it holds me in good stead and sort of creates a bit of a difference. And so I would say to anyone, sort of any young boy or girl coming out of Swan Hill, to definitely be proud of our origins of Swan Hill, and sort of wear it as a badge of honour and take it as far as you can.
Well, it's great advice, Tommy. And as I said, you wear your heart on your sleeve. You're a very passionate person, but you do an amazing job in your role, mate. Congratulations so far on your role. Absolutely superb. And mate, you're only in your early 30s. You've got a big, bright future ahead of you. And who knows, mate, the world's your oyster at the moment, mate. Thanks for joining us on Around the Grounds, mate. Absolute superb, mate. I know I'll be thinking twice now when I watch Fox Footy 360, mate, because I know that you're the one putting the words in these guys' mouths.
Thanks for the chat, Chocco. I really enjoyed it.